Welcome to you all. I'm going to talk a little bit about the change of perspectives in industrial heritage as a basic element of new regional self-conception. You contacted me because of a project I've done in the European community together with others, several countries, about the development of industrial heritage in Europe. And I'm trying to explain you some of the background of this development in Germany and Europe, and also about this project, how we are dealing with such problems, developing problems of and preservation problems of industrial heritage in Germany. So I will start with three theses, then I'm going to the milestones of the international development in industrial heritage and the milestones in Germany. You have heard in the further presentation before me that there is TICCIH and other organizations who are going to promote industrial heritage not only in Germany and Europe, but also worldwide. For example, the Asian Network of Industrial Heritage. Then I'm explaining something about this project, European Shift X project, and then I will end with some conclusions. First thesis, the continuous globalization of economy and culture is leading to a renaissance of regional identities worldwide. This is very important for industrial heritage because the regional identity is closely connected to the heritage of the regions, and on the other hand, it's giving you, especially in industrial heritage, the chance to work together with other regions worldwide, because the industrial process is a worldwide process. Thesis 2, in the process of regionalization, the cultural self-conception is playing a major role. So in each country, in each region, you have to develop this self-conception, the thinking about industrial heritage, the discovery of it, and the chances which are laying in the discovery and development of industrial heritage in each region. Thesis 3, industrial heritage as a part of the local and or regional cultural identity is playing a more and more important role since the 1960s, starting from Britain over Europe and now in the whole world. Archaeology, and the background was the demolition of a lot of industrial and important infrastructure, historical sites, by new developments of architecture and building construction and so on. But suddenly the people fought against this, and this was the birthplace of the industrial heritage movement in Britain. Important institutions were SIA, this is the Society for Industrial Archaeology. You can see in the first years and decade of the 1970s and later 1980s, this led to an international development coming from Britain, going to the United States, and then to other countries in Europe, especially, and the foundation of TICCIH, it was mentioned before, the International Committee for the Conservation of Industrial Heritage, which was founded in 1978, and which is now the worldwide institution and organization for bringing together all experts in the field of industrial heritage from quite different disciplines. And TICCIH is organizing every third year a worldwide conference. This year it was in Montreal in end of August and starting in September. And people from all over the world joined this conference. It's a very important development and a platform for discussing internationally the problems of industrial heritage. Here are some examples. This is the Euston Station in London, which is you can see as one of the birthplaces because it was teared down, and the people, architects, historians, and so on, protested against it. And this movement started in Britain to preserve industrial heritage in Britain. The first and the first national starting point was the preservation of the Iron Bridge in the Iron Bridge Gorge. It's a place, the oldest cast iron bridge ever constructed, and it was also the place where the modern coal technology and blast furnace technology was developed, and it was a main starting point for industrialization in Britain. In Germany, it started a little bit later, but it started also with a plan to demolish the engine house of the colliery Zollern 2-4 in Dortmund. It's near Essen. You have seen the pictures of the sulfur iron colliery, and this is was also a very important point people protested against the demolition of their own industrial past. Yeah, and from that on, in the 1970s, even in Germany, started a movement. And important was the creation of large industrial museums, decentralized museums, which are showing the most important industries on original places. So you have machine tool industry and the history of machine tool industry in a former machine tool factory. So this is very important. It started with the Industrial Museum of Westphalia and then the Rhineland in Western Germany, and followed up by other developments in whole Germany. Important part played the International Building Exhibition IBA Emscher Park, because this shifted the focus from single sites and single ensembles of industrial heritage to whole landscapes of industrial heritage. So we are now dealing not only with machinery and with infrastructure and single sites, we are dealing with whole industrial landscapes and trying to preserve them, to understand them, research them, and so on. So this is the state of art in the moment. One important point, we have seen pictures in the presentation before, was the event of Ruhr 2010, the European Cultural Capital, because the whole region, Essen was the European Cultural Capital in this year, but the whole region worked and tried to integrate the development of industrial heritage into the actual cultural development of arts and so on. It was, we have seen the masses of people who went to this event, and in 2025 there will be the next European Cultural Capital in Chemnitz. It's near my university town. Chemnitz is a very old industrial city, and this is also an impulse often for further development in the field of industrial heritage. Here you can see these shaft building of a machine house building of Zollern 2-4, and this place you see in the pictures below on the left and the right. This is one of these steel iron factories which should be turned down, but was preserved because of the protest of the people. And now it's it's a part of a landscape, a park, and it's used for exhibitions, for events, and so on. And it's a very living place today in the Ruhr region. This is some pictures to the International Building Exhibition IBA Emscher Park. It's a combination of preserving industrial sites, developing them in a modern art, but preserving the basic structures, but also an art festival. You can see here some pictures of this. I cannot explain everything, but it was a real event. It took 10 years to redevelop this whole area, which was in 150 years one of the main industrial areas of Germany of coal and steel production. Since the 1950s, there was, with the economical changes, a crisis came up, and no one knows how to deal with all these industrial heritage sites, which are still were standing there. And so the idea was born to redevelop the whole area with all the population with a large industrial landscape project. Yes, also the ecological problems, to solve them in such a project. This is a very useful tool. We have had several industrial heritage, industrial building exhibitions in Germany since then, and they are used for redevelop former industrial areas, for to have industrial heritage as a part of a living country, living landscape, and so on, and to give the people chances for jobs and so on. Okay, now I'm coming. This was only a short overview about the development of the last 20-30 years in Europe and in Germany. I'm now explaining our special project, TICCIH. It was a project, Industrial Heritage, as an encouragement of the economic and social transformations of old industrial regions. We still have in Europe, especially since the time of globalization and so on, a lot of former industrial sites, which are not necessary anymore for industrial production, but are a part of the culture, of the self-understanding of the people, and the problem is how to deal with this. And we have best practice examples in Europe, and we have other areas and towns which have big problems. And the basic idea of this project was to bring together the best practice examples and the problematical industrial cities so that they can learn from each other. So, and making not the same mistakes the others have done. So, and working together in a European context. This is the region. It's we have in Europe, as you know, the European Union, and they are offering a lot of money and programs for international cooperation between different countries in Europe. And you see here one of this is a Central Europe project, which is concentrated on the central part of Europe, with Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and so on, up going to the northern part of Italy, and so on. The basic of the development of this program was financing all this cooperation for 3 years. Important point was the close cooperation with the European route of industrial heritage called ERI from the beginning of the application for this project, because ERI is a very successful touristic route which is now started in the Netherlands and the western parts of Germany, but is now spread all over Europe, and you have different topic routes for tourists, for iron, steel production, for textiles, and so on. And it's a very successful development. Brought a close cooperation of industrial heritage in all European countries, and it's the touristic development is a very important development. The Ruhr region, for example, is today one of the most interesting tourist places for industrial heritage in Germany, and people from all over the world are coming there. And also you have heard about my project, about World Heritage Project, together with the Czech Republic, about the mining area of Erzgebirge. All mountains means this on the German and the Czech side, and we are developing this together as a part of the industrial and infrastructural development of the area, but also for the touristic development of this area. And these are very interesting attempts to deal with the problems of industrial heritage, of preservation and valorizing industrial heritage. So, sorry, this was too fast. The goal was employing cultural heritage of this project, of this Shift-X project, was employing cultural heritage as a promoter in the economic and social transition of old industrial regions. And the main steps was industrial heritage was seen as a basis of a sustainable development of innovation in traditional economical sectors for the strengthening, and this is important, of regional identity and image change. So to change the to a positive image of new uses of former industrial sites. And the target groups were local and regional politicians and authorities. You need them for such a development, but also regional development and tourist agencies, museums and scientific institutions, also active industries, very important NGOs, which play a major role in this development, and international networks, of course, as a basis. Other points are coming too, but these are the main points, target groups of this. The timeline, you can see it was from 2012 to 2014, and it was a European program. And you can see the budget of the whole program was 1.75 million euros. Yes, quite a large number of money we got for this project. Yeah, I want to show you some of these partner institutions, the partners who were the partners. I'm trying to bring this down. No, that's not a good idea. The partners, this was the county of Zwickau. It's a county which was famous for the history of automobile, textile, engineering and mining industries. And you can see this on the picture on the left top, the mining complex at Zwickau in the 1930s. This was teared down completely, yes, after 1919, and now other areas, textile mills and so on, were still standing, and we have to deal with how can we reuse them. And also one partner of the region in Eastern Germany was the mining tourist agency of Welzow, which is promoting the touristic industrial heritage development in brown coal mining area, which is still in production, but which will be closed until 2050. And so you have to deal with the problem, how can we, what can you do with all these structures, even with this large technology in this area? This one is one of these points. In Austria, it was the association of the Styrian iron route. You see here the iron ore mountain, which is nearly pure iron, and the mining is ending there. And so you have to think about what can you do for the people in this region. How can you deal with these ecological and economical problems? And we had two university partners, which was the university at Graz in Austria, an institute of geography and an institute of system science, innovation and sustainable research. The other university partner was my institute for industrial heritage. A region in the Czech Republic was the Sokolov East, which is also a large brown coal mining area. You can see the brown coal open cast mining here and the electricity plants in the background. And another in Belgium at Limburg was a competence center for community development of the region of Limburg, which is a development agency, a very successful development agency with this housed in the former industrial sites. Then in Poland is also the town of Bydgoszcz, with its history of chemical industry, engineering industry, railway industry, and my institute, of course, as a university partner. So these we have best practice partners for especially in Belgium, and also which were giving advice, and others which were receiving advice. So the goals and expected results of this project was regional marketing concepts for heritage, especially action plans for innovation and traditional production and offers with relation to industrial heritage, regional public campaigns based on the industrial history with the goal of an image change. This is very important. You have to bring the people into your projects and have to convince them that this is a very good thing for them. The common European strategy for the promotion of industrial heritage in cooperation with IRI. So the field for industrial heritage and industrial heritage tourism is very broad in Europe, not only in Germany, in whole Europe. Scientific companions of management tools for industrial heritage institutions, scientific companions of methods for the promotion of innovation for traditional products and offers. These companions were developed by the two universities, so that you have a management tool and a methods tool for the further development. And at the end stood a European container tour for the promotion of industrial heritage. There was a container which was shifted from one partner town to the other partner town, is an exhibition inside with explaining the project and the goals of the project. There were in some aspects for how to preserve industrial heritage sites, in other aspects, how can you develop tourism in these regions, and so on, how can you deal with the problems of conservation, and so on. So we have giving regions and regions who are getting something from this. So it was an interchange of all these partners, which was very fruitful. So if you are interested in further information, you may contact me. It's a project which was very successful. So I'm coming now to the end, to a view of the challenges and perspectives. The discovery of the industrial heritage means you have to do survey, documentation, analysis, and education. This is very important. You have to bring in, especially universities, scholars from different disciplines, architecture, construction theory, but also from history and so on. The interpretation is focused not only on the monument, also on ensembles, industrial townscapes, up to whole industrial landscapes. And you have to place it into a greater context. Industrial heritage could only be understood as a part of the whole culture of our nations. It's a part of social history, a part of economical history. It's a part of history of technology, of architecture, of course, but also urban development and regional development. So you have to bring it into a context, a much more broader context than only one factory or one machinery. And the question of preservation and reuse. How can you protect this industrial heritage? How can you reuse it without destructing it? Yes, and how can you have plans of conversion which are focused on the needs of the people in the region, in the city, or so on? Fields of action is society. You have try to foster the creativity and participation of the society in this project. Of course, to integrate the politics, the subsidiarity and responsibility, you have to show them how important this development is. Economy should play a major role. You have to bring in the economy, to integrate into this vital city development. Heritage, of course, universities for the documentation and development of innovational methods, tourism, of course, architectures and planners, schools, heritage education, and of course museums. And last but not least, archives, because they are giving you the research base for the understanding of the historical development. So my last slide. The perspectives of action, important precondition for a positive effect is of this development. The label is to be charged with appropriate content. You don't, for example, if you become a World Heritage Site, it's not enough to have outside, this is World Heritage. This is the starting point for further development. You have to develop this site and to explain it, especially industrial heritage has to be explained to the people. For many people, it's looking dirty, rotten if it's an empty factory. But if you explain to the people what part of their own life this was, of their parents, grandparents, and so on, this is the attitude to this is changing. And of course, at last but not least, there's no good thing except you do it. Thank you very much for your attention.